Okay, so what we're talking about is three-dimensional rendering and printing out our three-dimensional rendering. What we're going to be doing on Wednesday is doing a color rendering of what our lighting design will look like on stage. Okay? Now you can choose to do Act 1 or Act 2. You actually have to end up doing a couple of these for your final project. I guess you just have to do one by hand. So, but you can select which you want to do. Okay? So for this, what I'm going to actually do is, for our color rendering, we do not need to see the lights. Okay? Unless, yeah, you probably don't need to see the lights. I was going to say unless you're, so I would turn on scenery and turn off lighting. Okay? The next thing I would do is decide whether you're going to do Act 1 or Act 2. Okay? Anyone have a preference for which I show you? Act 1. Okay, so we select Act 1. You guys are late. You're 3 minutes late. How many? You can shut the door behind you. Okay. So one of the things that makes a rendering really good is it should have a person in it. Okay? So you want to create a person, and you go to your tool sets, and if they're not on, Window Palettes, Tool Sets, and you click the one with the light bulb, and we have this tool right here that is the human figure tool. Select it and decide where you want to put the person. I'm going to put the person seated in that chair. Late. Yeah, you are 4 minutes late. Okay, so I've clicked and put my person in. Okay, let's go back to our 3D view and look at this and see how our person looks. Okay, what do we notice that's first wrong with our person sitting on that chair?
He's not sitting.
He's not sitting. Okay? So, one of the things is Vectorworks doesn't really comprehend chair. Okay? It doesn't comprehend that people sit in chairs, they don't stand in the middle of chairs. Okay? So, what we've got to do is go into our object info, okay, and adjust our figure. Okay? There are a couple things we can adjust. Body type, slight, petite, average, or large.
Large. Go large.
Okay, go large. You can set the person's height. Okay. You were going to notice that each of these does take a while to render. Yes, he got chubby. Okay. Man, woman, boy, or girl.
Girl. Woman.
There aren't any real girls in the play, are there?
As long as they're not 5'10".
Okay. Okay, posture. Okay, sitting, standing, running, walking, kneeling. Okay, we're going to do sitting, chair, arms, and lap. Okay. If there are women in this play, they are probably not in a t-shirt. Long sleeve dress. Okay. And bottom should be a long dress. Okay. Okay, so we can see it's made all those changes. And we're just going to look around here in 3D. And why, yes, she is sitting now, but she's sitting right through the arms of the chair. She's not in the right direction. Okay. So we can do that very simply on our basic tool set with our rotate tool. Okay, and looks like she needs to move forward a little bit on her chair. She's sitting on the, well, it's an exciting play. Okay, and can we see that? That yes, there she is. She's sitting on the chair.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh?
Are you recording this?
Yes. Okay. So, she's sitting on the chair. If this is not precise enough for you, you need to make more adjustments to her. If you come down here and click Set Attributes, you can, it's going to bring up a menu, which we're not going to go through today, but you can experiment with. You can adjust all kinds of positions, body attributes. This is all what she's wearing. And then custom position allows you, to tilt her head at an angle and turn it and render. Okay. Again, Vectorworks is happy to let you break her neck.
She's just staring at Picasso.
Okay.
This is the Picasso.
Okay. I'm going to just click revert. Okay. So you guys have that kind of total control. You want to make sure you have a person somewhere in your rendering. And when we're doing these renderings, think of a specific moment in the show. Dress and place your people. It will make this assignment much easier. If you're thinking of a specific, line in the show, where would the people be? You've only got 2 of them on stage, right?
Yeah.
Okay?
In my mind, it's
Okay, in reality, there's 2. Okay? So, and for this, if you're doing something from Act 1 and you don't want the sarcophagus there, just drag it off to the side and then put it back later. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay? So, that is our first step to creating the rendering. Okay? And this will also be the first step to creating our digital renderings when we get to those in a couple weeks. Okay, but for now we're getting ready to do a hand rendering, okay? But do you want to have to draw this set out in perspective yourself? No. You'd much rather have the computer draw it for you. So vaguely kind of move using your flyover tool, get the set in vaguely the position you'd want to draw it. Okay? Now this is not a perspective drawing yet. This is still called orthogonal. Things in the back don't get smaller. Wouldn't it be great if Vectorworks could do a perspective drawing for us?
You're about to say
It can. Okay? You're going to go to View. You're going to go to Projection, and it says Orthogonal. But if you go down to the next one, it's Perspective.
Remove perspective.
Okay? That's what we just did. We just went to Perspective. Now, one of the problems with when you're doing this is you've got to set your window. This is in perspective. However, at the moment, it's it's below our drawing. Okay, so still in our tab here, our visualization tab, this command is called the translate view. This will just slide your view up and down. Okay, well, that doesn't look bad, but I'm zoomed in a little bit close. The walkthrough, the little feet, if you pull down, it will zoom out. Okay? So you can adjust this till you have a good view. The other thing to consider is our piece of paper. Now you can see the piece of paper, it's our gray box. So what I like to do before I get too worried about how this box is going to fit and look, I'm going to set my window so it's about the size of my box. Okay, and then now I can start playing with this and see, okay, this is what it's going to look like on my paper. Okay, that's not bad. Maybe I want to move out a little bit. Zoom backwards a little bit. Okay, it's not bad, but let me just try to adjust the view using my flyover tool.
Can you change the view angle? I mean, like the...
Your cone, yes. That is perspective, narrow, normal, or wide. Okay? Or you can set it by typing it in. Okay? Set them till it's what you like. And remember, we want to see enough of the set that we can really give an idea of what the set looks like and what your lighting on the actors looks like. Okay? Now, this drawing doesn't look bad, but it's a little confusing, isn't it? Wouldn't it be nice if we could just hide all the hidden stuff and really just have a really look at it? You know, because we can see the wall outside the door, and that's kind of weird. Okay? Huh? We can. We're going to go View, Rendering. Okay, and we're in wireframe. Okay, wireframe literally means it's like your whole set was built out of coat hangers. You can see through everything. For what we're doing now, I highly recommend Hidden Line. Okay, comes down here, Hidden Line. What Hidden Line means, and it's going to take a moment to draw. It does take a moment to draw stuff. Hidden Line means if you couldn't see the line, you can't see the line. It hides it. Okay? Okay, and it's rendering, and it's rendering. And there we go. Okay, there is the set. Now, it's not really showing you the detail on the backdrop, but that's okay. Okay, but we've got the fireplace, we've got the picture, and we have a good basic drawing of the set. Okay, it is inside our print window. So at this point, all we have to do is go File, Print, and print it out. Obviously, I'm not connected to a printer, so it won't print. That is what you need for Wednesday. Print it out. Don't say, oh, I've got it on disk. Oh, I have it on my flash drive. It won't work for what we're doing in class. You must have a physical printout. And here's the really nice thing. Where am I from 11:30 to 12:50 on Wednesday? I'm in the Idea Lab. So if you have questions, you can have this done. I strongly suggest before then building your people in there and getting your file saved and stuff like that. Okay? Yes.
Can we have more than one guy?
Yes. I highly recommend you select a moment from the play, so we'll probably have 2 people on stage. Okay? And really think about this because you're going to be drawing the lighting for a moment from the play. So before Wednesday, actually before you start to do this part of the project, select that moment. Okay? And don't select, oh yeah, there's this moment when, go to your script and select the moment. Okay? And if you want to bring in Act 1 and an Act 2 and be, super stupid fancy, go for it. Okay? You are eventually going to have to do several of these. However, the rest of them, you only have to do one by hand. You'll do the rest of them digitally. Okay? So we'll show you how to digitally turn lights on and off later. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay? So you can put people in. You can change their genders and their heights and what they're wearing within reason. And I know you are not going to be able to get a perfect werewolf costume out of this. Okay? Okay. Seriously, don't spend the time on it. When you're doing your digital rendering, if you want to spend the time on it then, great. At the moment, you're looking for a reference person because you're going to be redrawing this. This is just going to save you the bother of figuring out your perspective. Okay? I will have my computer here or a computer here at least on Wednesday. So if you're like, I need to see what the backdrop looks like, I need to see what colors the walls are and stuff, I'll be able to bring that up on the screen and show you. Okay? This should be a really easy Vectorworks assignment. Okay? Anyone confused? Okay. Then I'm going to stop the recording. The video? You should already have been downloaded this and been using this. Okay. Yeah, because you need to be doing a rough light plot. Okay. Are there any other questions you guys have about Vectorworks? Things you're having trouble doing? Show of hands. How many of you have put at least one light and a focus point in Vectorworks and focused it? Yay! How many of you have not gotten that far? Next question. How many of you think you have probably 50% of your lights in Vectorworks? Yay!
Before we do color, yeah.
Before, okay. How many of you have 25% of your lights in Vectorworks?
Maybe.
Okay.
Virtual focusing.
Double.
Yeah, no, I was 75% done and then we did colors, and I was like, oh, 10%.
Okay. So, Kirk, what's your question?
I've already done the rough hookup for Act 1.
Okay.
Act 3 is going to be essentially the same for the general purpose of the lights. How do I transfer the file from just Act 1 over to Act 3?
You don't. All your lights have to go in one file.
Well, okay. I guess I need to be a little more specific. You have Act 1 selected right there. So everything on Act 1 is going to be selected. It's going to show up in Vectorworks. If I click over to Act 3, all my lights are going to be gone.
Yes. Don't put them on that layer, on that class. Put them on one called Instruments.
And then just turn on Instruments.
And then your instruments are on.
I thought I did that, but I could be just, insane.
Okay? Yes. That's one of the things we talked about classes. Put things in separate classes if you want to be able to control them separately. All of your lights, unless you're doing, unless your idea is to do a separate drawing for lights that attach to the floor or something, you want all of your lights on the same class and layer. Okay? Because you only hang one light plot. Even though some lights are for Act 1 and some lights for Act 2 and some lights are for Act 3, it's one light plot. You just have to consider what you're turning on and off at the same time.
Now what about the focus points?
Well, can your lights change focus between acts? No. I generally do my focus points on a separate class so I can turn them off because I don't want to see them. Because when you do your renderings, if they're on a class with the lights, your focus points will be floating there in mid-space in your renderings.
Yeah, I made that mistake.
Okay? But guess what? It's not hard to change what class something's on. Select all the objects, and then in object info, so like my human figure is currently on Act 2. If I want them on someplace else, it's selected in my object info. I can now put, now she's on electrics.
Okay, so that's what I did wrong. I didn't get that list.
You should have.
Well, I must have changed it somewhere else. That.
Okay, escape.
Okay. I think I put it on layer.
Okay.
And I put it on lights. So for class.
Okay, there are both layers and classes. Okay, layers are your big groups of objects. Lighting, scenery, building. Okay? So your lights should be on the lighting layer, and they should be on a class called instruments or lights or, okay?
That's what they're talking about.
Okay? So yes. And again, if you remember, you can create as many classes as you want. If you want to name a class Bob that holds all your lights, okay, and if you've forgotten how to do that, go to your navigation palette, double click here, and look, I can create a new class. New class called Bob. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and now put my figure on Bob.
Did it update? Refresh it or
No, I have to press OK instead of cancel is what I have to do. Okay, there we go. There's Bob. Okay, and now I can move my lady to Bob.
You press cancel again.
Believe it or not, I'm actually really good at this. New. Bob. Okay. Okay. There we go. Now she can go on to Bob. Okay? Okay. Okay. Remember, when you're doing your printout, not only think about what scene you want to do, but when we do these drawings, the idea is to sell how brilliant your design is to your director. So if the moment you're doing is all about the fireplace, or let me do a different example, is all about the door over here. This is probably not the best view for it. Okay? So please cheat. Whoa. Set your view appropriately. Yeah, they fixed it up pretty good. Okay. Okay, any other questions?
It hasn't happened in a while.